Hello,
Yeah,
YB. Thanks for talking to Politics Now and Why. I understand that you have started a movement or you are spokesman for the
yeah,
Palestine Solidarity Movement.
yeah.
Can you tell me a bit about why it was started, what is it about, and what sort of progress have you made?
Um, uh, the the secretariat was set up as a coalition of various NGO since last year, December, because since the starting of October 7th, we see um, brutal bombing and of killing of the civilian, the massacres and the genocides been going on in Palestine. So our purpose is trying to unite various forces rather than taking each of the sectarian way of expressing solidarity. So we want to combine everyone together to have a united voice. Secondly, also we want to bring out the issues as a universal issues. A lot of people have in this country have a misconception that this is a Muslim only issues or this is a issues that only restricted to the Islamic faith. Rather they are less aware about Palestinian are actually multi-religion. There are also people who suffer regardless of religion, and this is one issues that I think everyone agree on humanitarian ground. Whatever political persuasion we are, some people might support various factions of the Palestinian movement, but one thing very clear that we want to stop the genocide. We want ceasefire immediately. So that's where we started as a movement, and the whole thing, unfortunately, continued. Actually, I would wish to see it to have a ceasefire immediately, which we wish to see lasting peace. But unfortunately, it has gone on for 7, 8 months already, and there's no sign of residing. There's no sign of stop. So we will continue and continue to bring public awareness on these issues. So that's where the movement is heading now.
May I interrupt? You mentioned bring everyone. Who are the everyone? Is it within Malaysia to create public awareness among
Yeah, I think
non-Muslims in Malaysia?
mainly
Are you also linked to other movements around the region, around the world? It seems to have become some sort of a global movement
okay.
to help Palestine.
Yeah,
I believe recently at Harvard
yeah, that's right.
University
Yeah,
in the US, there was a walkout
yeah.
to show support to
Solidarity. Yeah,
Palestine.
yeah.
Can you tell me
Okay.
about that?
First of all, I think the key is we want to unite Malaysian, right? We want to transcend political ideology, transcend religion and ethnicity. That's our first mission, so that everyone can be at par together, and also to educate the public what is actually going on and why we are taking a solidarity stand for Palestine. Of course, today we have seen this has turned into a global movement. We look at campuses around the world. There's a new awareness. In fact, someone has mentioned it. This is a new Vietnam War for the West. You know, the Western country has exposed their own hypocrisy, their own what's it called, double standard when it comes to this issue. So now the young people are revolting. The young people are rising up, and I believe that in 20 years' time, these people who participate in the Harvard, in Cambridge, and in University in Paris, in America, they will be the leaders of the world. So I believe that Malaysian young people must take up the challenge and to be assertive and to bring this issue at heart. And the future belongs to them. You know, the young in the youth people in Malaysia and also in Europe and America, they have this new awareness, and we hope that when they become leaders one day, they will be able to shape the world for a better place, for peace, more lasting peace.
Okay. I noticed that the sentiment among the youth, especially the Muslim youth in Malaysia, is rather passionate. The boycotts against firms like Starbucks,
Yeah,
Kentucky Fried Chicken is quite extreme, and these firms are actually feeling it and are struggling a bit. Okay, so it's been most interesting speaking to you on this issue. You have brought up many facets and aspects that many of us have not thought about before. Okay, and I think it's very welcome
yeah.
for you to shed so much light. Thank
Thank
you,
you,
Bobby.
thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So okay, um, I think the issues about boycott is a new awareness. In fact, this is nothing new because if you look back to the apartheid South Africa, part of the momentum that had been created is the boycott of South Africa, and eventually bring to the liberation of the South African. So boycott has been seen as a as effective tool. I personally have very skeptical of people saying boycott will affect the economy in the sense that affect our own economy. I'm not talking about it would not affect the company, but overall, for domestic economy, it's still the same. First of all, despite all the boycott, the company are bound by labor law and they cannot just dismiss people anytime they like. Right. Secondly, uh, consumer choice will shift. If they don't buy McDonald's, they will still buy burger somewhere else, right? So people don't buy certain American pizza, but they still buy local made pizza. So overall, the net effect of it is just a shift of consumer choices. Right. This come to my third point is that there is an increasing awareness among the middle class to believe that their consumer power can be a weapon to change the world. It's not just have to go to demo. Yes, it's important. You can sign petition, but now this economic power that hold by middle class in third world country, in developing country, has become an important weapon for them to negotiate for a better future. So I'm quite impressed with what happened among the Malaysian. Malaysia is very much a middle class society now. In fact, it is the middle class that's now leading the the awareness campaign, and by choosing consumer product that they want to express their dissatisfaction. So I think it's a positive thing. And we see now Kentucky is shifting their menu, increasing their chicken size, all this thing to please the thing. That's a marketing. But if they value this third world market more, then they pull up on Israel. Then there will be not a target from
Would you say
as a
uh,
boycott.
would you say
Yeah,
that this has been a real eye opener for
yeah,
the Western powers?
yeah,
For decades, they have been playing the stereotype of
yeah,
the Hollywood stereotype of the good guy, and whatever they lay out as to be the correct way of doing things has always been taken as gospel truth. But
yeah,
now you see this some sort of a middle class soft
yeah.
rebellion.
That's
Uh,
right. That's
will
right.
they have to change the way they do things? Do you think they actually will? And uh, what do you think will likely happen uh,
I
uh,
think
going forward as far as this
yeah.
conflict is concerned?
I think let's take the specifically on the BDS, which is boycott, diverse, and sanction. Camp, the campuses are now revolting, demanding their university to cut off any ties and boycotting products that link to Israel and the military complex. Um, third world countries, developing countries, are also following this trend. Um, I don't think the superpower can argue with any ethical moral standard by saying, "Oh, boycott is bad and it will hurt people." This is what they did to Iran, what they did previously to Iraq. Now they are trying to circle in China using boycott. They have done it to North Korea. So many countries that they use boycott. Now, when there is a public awareness using that, You cannot turn around saying, "Oh, this is bad," right? So I think this is basically every country or every individual is using their economic power to bargain for something that they want, which is something quite legitimate. So I would see with this momentum, it will shape something, right? Beside giving food aids to the Palestinian, beside supporting the armed struggle, I think the economic power is actually coming out. And of course, I take bigger thing. Now the world also sick and tired of all this bullying. You
Mm.
have BRIC coming out. You have countries that want to trade among themselves. They're using their market size as the new bargaining power. That's why you see emerging market like Brazil, South Africa, China, probably Indonesia, India. They are now uh, aware of we don't have to be subject to the rules set by someone else. And these people who set the rules talk about freedom and human rights, but when it comes to their own interests, they can put blind eyes to what happened. And Palestine is an eye opener for many of us.
Okay. How do you foresee this conflict will end? You mentioned that 7 or 8 months. You had expected a ceasefire earlier, but it has dragged on longer than expected. What do you think is the most likely? Of course, nobody can predict. I mean, so many people have been trying to,
Yeah,
but what do you see as the most likely? And for your Malaysian chapter
yeah,
here, the resistance movement, uh, what is the future for you? What plans do you
yeah.
have? Anything specific? And how do you will you end immediately once there's a ceasefire, or will you all continue to stay as you are, and sort of like fight for a better world by keeping an eye on the situation there?
Okay, that's a bit. I'll start bit by bit. I think first of all, the current obstacle for a ceasefire or a peaceful solution, it's first coming from blind support from the United States. Biden had betrayed the trust of the American people. They want American people want to see a much more assertive US that will fight for world peace, fight for a global order that based on rules and international law. But unfortunately, Biden has have failed all of them. And secondly, you see Netanyahu, who is desperate, trying to keep the war in order to keep his power base. So I think these two individuals are largely responsible for the dragging on the situation. So I believe that eventually, including I believe that the Israeli can understand that they're tired. I mean, they cannot continue to fight all their neighbors. They cannot continue to be in a war situation. And I believe that the liberations will come when both sides recognize that war is not the answer. So hopefully, with such a atrocious situation that happened and the whole world has woken up to the issues, and I believe that um, um, some sensibility will come in. Okay, once you remove this, a few individuals that have self-interest rather than put their national interest or global interest as priority. Second part of it, where do we go? As far as Malaysian is concerned, we are a movement that come into coalition. And in fact, before our existence, there's a lot of Palestinian group that already working on Palestinian issues, but mostly on humanitarian aids. There was not much of a policy agenda. So I think this movement has to go one step further, which is to also to monitor our own government, to ensure that our government do what they say, right? That's why BTS is important. It is not good enough if we just go to international forum and speak loudly, but when you come to business interests, you continue to prolong the dominance of all these military and markets. This group of people who has are the creator of the war. So I think this is why this is both internationally directed but also domestically. We want our government to be consistent in their support. The issues is this current, how do we uh, bring about bring about change in this country? For me, Palestine is not just something that we fight far away. It is something, as we see in many campus now, it is about the freedom of expression. It's about their rights to determine what type of foreign policy the government should be. It is the right of the people to decide what type of economic structure that we want to live in. So, so I think this is where the movement should go beyond just about external support, but this is also coming back to our own self and monitoring our own policymakers, our own government structure, so that it is compliant to what the principles prescribe. So with that, I would like to also say it's a very it we are confronting with another serious issues where recently the government planned suddenly announcing that they will be privatizing the MHB Malaysian airports holding Berhad. For the background, you see, this is a Malaysian one of our economic structure. We always create monopoly, right? MHB is a monopoly. 9339 airport, which is all the airport except one, which is Senai, are under the MHB control, right? And that's why people say, oh, they are struggling because not every airport is making money. Secondly, it is also um, not competitive. Yes, when you have monopoly, definitely it's not competitive. So MHB is having some certain problem, but they have been moving to some positive end because of the increased passengers volume and other things. But suddenly, with this monopoly, we privatize. And worst thing is we're not even giving priority to our local player. I mean, government could easily get funding by issuing more bond or letting go part of the share to Sabah Sarawak government so that they can also hold responsibility and they can also manage some of their airport. But instead, we had invited a foreign entity in the name of Abu Dhabi Investment Authority. But Abu Dhabi Investment Authority is handing over the entire management of Malaysia Airport, which means the 39 airport all will be under a company called Global Infrastructure Partners. It is a New York-based company. And coincidentally, I don't know whether it's planned or what, in January this year, while we are negotiating this deal, Blackrock, one of the big investor in weaponaries, in all the, all the financial system that move up the war economy. Blackrock is a company that suddenly they acquire and the entire GIP, which indirectly means BlackRock will be running our airport, which is to me is an irony. On one hand, we're shouting, crying wolf by saying that this is, the weapon industries, the U.S. Capital is manufacturing war machine to kill the Gaza, continue with the genocide. But on the other hand, we are handing over part of our strategic, uh, what is it called, strategic asset to a company that contradict to our national value. So this is why we want to remind the government that cancel the agreement and look for other alternative rather than go in bed with this company that we have blood in their hand.
All right. So it's been most interesting speaking to you on this issue. You have brought up many, many facets and aspects that many of us have not thought about before. Okay, and I think it's very welcome for you to shed so much light. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Mahb.
Thank